This by no means is any knock on Boston College. I think it's a great game. It'll be a tremendous test. I think they're a really good football team. They're 3-0. They were, maybe 6-5 last year in a COVID year, and I think Coach Hafley's done a tremendous job there and poised to have a big year. I mean, you look at the ACC; it's wide open, and us traveling to Boston is going to be a very difficult test. If I had my pick of it, I would love to play a regional matchup that was maybe more of a rivalry game. That would be maybe a little bit more exciting to recruits to watch, from a TV perspective, or, maybe we're playing in front of your family. I don't know the last time Missouri signed a kid from the great state of Massachusetts.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. Thanks for making Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Boston College is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, at Locked On Boston College. Now, we just kicked off the show with Eli Drinkwitz in his comments. We're going to get into that in a moment. We also have ForBlogston on today. He's going to talk about bets with BC. And finally, we have CJ Clinkscales, a 2022 running back from Buford, Georgia, who is committed to Boston College. You're going to want to hear his thoughts about the Eagles and why he chose Boston College. All of that coming up on today's show. So, Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri's head coach, comes out and he says what he said at the beginning of the show. Not a complete dig at Boston College, but definitely a dig at the great state of Massachusetts. I don't know what his thoughts were. My thought, old AJ would have gone probably on a tirade on this, but I got to kind of keep it professional here. I'll give you kind of my thoughts of where Drinkwitz is with this. He does not sound happy he has to play at Boston College because he's an SEC school, and what does he gain by winning this game? Nothing. You beat Boston College. Every SEC fan already thinks they're going to beat Boston College. So whatever. If he loses this game, you stink. You lost to Boston College. Fire Eli Drinkwitz. So he really doesn't have much to gain in this game. And obviously he wasn't part of the program in 2016 when the Tigers scheduled BC. That being said, as Jeff Hafley has said all year, this is a game. It's a game on your schedule. Play it and be quiet about it. You do not need to give the other team bulletin board materials. You would never, ever hear Bill Belichick say what Eli Drinkwitz said this week. That it's dumb, it's unnecessary, and you don't need to let the media know about it. Now, it could be just innocent, but you don't need to say anything. Jeff Hafley never says anything. Look at what he said. I mean, if you go back to Jeff Hafley's press conference on Tuesday, what did he say? He said, yeah, we're playing Missouri. They're a great team. I have a lot of respect for them, but we prepare for every team like it is every single week. He did not give them any bulletin board material. He didn't give them any added motivation. You don't need that. What Jeff Hafley said was very respectful. As a writer, it's kind of boring because you really want what Drinkwitz said, because that's way more interesting if you're a writer, right? But Hafley, he knows what's best interest of his team. He's not going to give them that pleasure. So let's hear how Hafley responded to Drinkwitz.
Yeah, I heard it because there's about 500 people that sent it to me. Besides that, I probably would have never heard it. Look, he said I don't think he meant anything by it, and I'll give you my opinion. Truthfully, you guys asked me how I felt when we had to go and play UMass, right? And we had to go to Temple and play Temple. Shoot, if Colgate wanted us to go play him there, I'll go play there. And if he really didn't want to come to Boston, he should have called me up and asked me, and I would have got on a plane and flew out to Missouri to play. I don't care where we play. I don't.
So there's Jeff Hafley. You hear his response. Again, he keeps it diplomatic, right? He doesn't say anything. You can kind of tell, I think. I mean, just from my perspective, listening to it, I could be completely wrong. Jeff may be totally fine with it. There seems to be a little bit of annoyance in there in his voice, and it could be just that he's asked about it. It also could be the disrespect that Drinkwitz gave the state of Massachusetts. Now, I think Hafley responded fine, and he said what he needed to do. He said, hey, if you know what? have me go play on Brockton Highfield. Have me play at Maine. It doesn't matter where we play. I just want to play. And I think that is the correct response. You don't need the snarky response from Drinkwitz. And you know what? I think Tyler Calvaruso at 247 Sports, want to give him credit for this, brought up a great point. Yeah, he has not got any, Tyler did a great job of dragging this out. Yeah, Missouri didn't get any recruits out of the state of Massachusetts, but you know what? Drew Kendall would have been their highest rated commitment if he committed to the Tigers. Maybe it would be in the best interest for Eli Drinkwitz to maybe go and recruit the great state of Massachusetts, because there's plenty of talent here. And hey, you're an SEC school. Why don't you act like it? Why don't you go and get those guys? If you think you're so mighty, come up to Massachusetts and poach all those guys. Probably because you can't, because you're Missouri. You're a school that is in the basement of the SEC year after year. You get punished by Florida. You get punished by Georgia year after year because you're not a real SEC school. You go out there and you talk the smack against a school like Boston College and a state like Massachusetts. And speaking of this, Eli, it's a commonwealth. We're not a state, but I'm not expecting you to know that. And I get what he's saying. He'd much rather play Kansas. Then go play Kansas. You want a real challenge, go play Kansas. Because, they're such a great football program that you really want to impress the recruits on TV with Kansas, which is what I'm assuming he's talking about. Then go do that. But whatever. It probably was just, playful fun from Eli Drinkwitz. But now there's added motivation for this game. And I hope Boston College fans that are at this game are chanting Massachusetts. They're playing Shipping Out to Boston nonstop throughout this game. Do it. Just do it. And get some added energy. I mean, this fan base needed a reason to wake up, and taking a shot across the brow like that will definitely do that. So BC fans, if you're out there listening to this, get to Alumni Stadium this Saturday. Get there and be loud. Support your Boston College Eagles. Support the kids in the state of Massachusetts that Eli Drinkwitz doesn't think is worth recruiting, because he's an SEC school, and that's what they do. This is AJ Black. We'll be back in just a moment when we're going to talk to ForBlogston, and I'm going to calm down. But in a moment, let's chat about the good folks at RockAuto.com. Rock Auto is a family business that has been serving auto customers for the last 20 years. Why spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store car dealership when you can head to Rock Auto and save money right now? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Now head on over, check out their easy-to-use catalog, put in your make and model, and then boom, everything that they have will come up. It's that easy, and you'll save money. So head on over to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in their How'd You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black, thank you all for making us part of your routine. We love having you listen to Locked On Boston College every day. With me, I have Christopher Osnato. You know him as ForBlogston on Twitter. Chris, how's it going?
AJ, as always, it is an absolute delight to talk about our Eagles with you. Things are good, buddy. Things are
absolutely good. Great. And Chris was on with us earlier. We previewed some of Boston College football earlier this year with him. Chris, I want to ask your opinion. How do you think the season's going so far?
I am decided to take the opinion from some of our other fellow prognosticators, and we're positive vibes only right now at this point. We're just happy about a 3-0 record. We will speak nothing about what happened at UMass. And when I reached out to you last week before the Temple game about possibly doing something, coming back on and doing a bet check. The reason I really thought about it is because if we talked last week, it would have just been all Phil all the time. And that's kind of what we had I didn't want to have to hamstring you to that, because he really, I know we're going to get into the bets a little bit. He really factored into a lot of our discussions the first time around. So now we know what this team looks like a little bit. We see how they played without him. They had a good game last week. So I feel a little bit better about this team. So they're 3-0. Can't go 15-0, as the guys at Fourth and Dude would say. Can't go 15-0 without going 3-0 first. So it's a pretty good time right now.
I was going to say, I know that has been a saying over there with those guys. I love the Fourth and Dudes. They bring a great perspective to BC sports that is very different, and I love it. Crushing some Bud Lights is not my thing, but I respect the hell out of them for doing it. So, so we are now into the fourth week, and everything opens up this week against Missouri. It's the big game, and the big news this week, and we just talked about it in the first segment, was Eli Drinkwitz's comments about coming to play in Boston. And Jeff Hafley he took the high road, but you could tell he was a little ticked off in there with what the comments Eli Drinkwitz said. What were your thoughts? When you heard what he said, did that kind of get you energized and really pumped for this game?
Well, I'm not from Massachusetts, but one of the things I read was that it was more of an insult to Massachusetts than it was to Boston College. I was taken aback by it. Not taken aback's way too strong, but I was surprised by it. This from watching Belichick for all these years. You can't put something on paper or on the press that anyone can take anything as anything other than praise. And so I don't know if he was digging BC. I don't really think he was. I think he probably has a lot of respect for Hafley in particular. And just as a side note, the way that Hafley handles every single press conference is such a refreshing just a refreshing experience from what we've been used to before. So I don't really know if Eli was really trying to poke fun at BC, but he certainly took a shot at Massachusetts. There's a lot of news on Twitter and all the other, message boards that maybe, it's just not a recruiting area for them. Oh, they just don't come up that way. I'm sorry. That's just not the case. They'd be happy to have Drew Kendall. They'd be happy to have Joe Griff Jr. In their class next year. So, you want to come to Massachusetts and talk about the last time you had a player from the great state of Massachusetts, that will not go unnoticed. So I think there's a reason to have a little salt and vinegar with you.
Yeah. And you see the differences in how they approach this. Like, it's just like you said with like the coaches not wanting to put anything on paper. Jeff Hafley literally did that yesterday when he had his press conference and he said, we treat every game. He sounds like Belichick almost. Like the first 3 games, if I don't treat this game just like I treated the first game, I'm not doing my job. And it's like, he's right. But like, you don't want to give any team any motivation in a game like this, especially a game that for many is, I mean, if you look at the betting lines, it's 50-50, depending on where you're going. You could find action.
Exactly.
You can find action anywhere. You can find action. I've seen where BC is the favorite. You can find most of it's on Mizzou, but it's only like a point or two. Speaking of that action, where you think? Let's talk about a few bets. We'll get to the BC Mizzou game because I want to hear your thoughts on that line. But earlier this year, we talked about the BC over underline, and I think it was at 6.5 or 7. I think it was 7. Are you still comfortable on the over on that one? Well,
comfortable is different than content. Am I comfortable? Certainly not. You can't lose. Our analysis the first time around, I think, still holds. There's a lot of 50-50 games on this schedule. There were a lot of 50-50 games on the schedule, even when Jerk was the quarterback, right? So you take a look, that really hasn't changed. Florida State should probably be closer to the win column than a 50-50 game. Georgia Tech, maybe that as well. Between those two and Syracuse, then you're staring at 6. Where does the 7th come from? Mizzou's probably one of the better chances we'll have to do it. NC State's only losses to an SEC team, a bad one at that. Louisville and Virginia Tech don't actually really have bad losses, and Wake Forest is undefeated. So, I mean, if we lose this Missouri game, we're essentially exactly where NC State was. So that kind of has to be a 50-50 there too. So comfortable, no. Content, yes. I mean, after losing your quarterback, you have to feel okay with where you're at. You went 3-0. You're winning the games you're supposed to. You got Syracuse on deck later in the season. And again, it's just 7 for a push. An actual win at 8 is looking a little tough, especially since they don't count bowl games. But 7 certainly on the board, trying to get your money back and make some bets throughout the season to make up for it.
So I think some of the bets we talked about were like Djokovic's passing totals, and we're gonna have to take those off the board.
Yeah, I mean, I've currently got a drink in my hand, and I'd like not to finish it before this podcast is done. So we don't need to talk about the jerk bets at this point.
Yeah, and so we're gonna have to see what Dennis Grosel does this weekend. And he said in his press conference today that he's gonna relax a little bit more in the pocket. And I think that's a great analysis of what we need to see, because he definitely looked a little skittish last weekend. He's playing he's playing a good defensive line against, at least in the pass rush, against Mizzou this week. Now, 2-point spread. Let me hear about your thoughts. This will be our last little piece here with Chris. What are your thoughts on Saturday's game?
All right. So I'm ignoring the spread at this point. At 2 points, you pick your team to win one way or another. Honestly, I don't really need 2 points. If I think BC is going to win, I'm going to take the money line in this one. And, candidly, I already have taken BC and the money line in this one to get plus points on this team. I don't know if they win, but I think they've got enough of a chance that it's worth the juice. That, and I used to write something up, but now my life is a little hectic, so I haven't been writing it. I usually do pick one BC centric bet a week. And I'm actually 2-0 those bets this year. I call them my BC bets. And the one that I'm really looking at for this week is the Missouri, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Missouri under. It's currently at 29.5. It might be up to 30. But I think either way, this defense showed me a lot last week against Temple. And yeah, it was against Temple. But I think back to last season with a defensive unit that had no time to gel, was coming off a terrible game against Texas State, and then went out and held UNC to 24 points. That's what I'm looking at when I look at this game. I don't think this Missouri offense, I think it's good. I think we're going to have a lot of Beatty running down our throat, who looks like Montel Harris after a year at Golden Corral. But, I think we're going to have the ball run down our throat. But I don't know if we're looking at 30 points from them. I think there's going to be a lot of running in this game too, which runs the clock out, which leads to lower scores. That was one of the things I was looking for at Temple, and it happened. So my BC bet this week is going to be the Missouri under. I have bet the money line. I want, obviously I've done that, but in particular, I'm looking at the Missouri under as kind of one of my better picks this week.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it totally gels with kind of what Hafley was saying this week. Like he does want to keep that power running game going. And I think against a Missouri defense that let up 300 rushing yards to Kentucky, this could be a controlling the clock thing. But they could mix the vertical passing game in there too. We'll see what happens, but you might see a heavy dose of Pat Garwo in this game. So Chris, people can follow you on Twitter at ForBlogston. Any other places you want them to check you out?
No, that's it. That's enough for now. I do my best work on the Twitter handles and in a bar, yucking it up with folks.
Absolutely.
So if anyone wants to buy me a beer at one point, we'll do that.
So check out Chris. He's ForBlogston on Twitter. He's amazing to follow during a game. He's got great analysis. Chris, thanks for coming on.
AJ, always a pleasure, man.
All right. In just a moment, we're going to have CJ Clinkscales on our show to talk about his journey to Boston College. And you'll get to hear about why he chose the Eagles and his relationship with Jeff Hafley. Before we do that, let's chat a little bit about SweatBlock. Guys, there's a few things in life that are just not fun to talk about. One of them is sweating. When you're sweating through your shirts for no reasons, it's embarrassing, right? Some of you may know that I personally have dealt with this when I speak in public. I can't help but sweat through my shirt. Now, listen, I know this isn't life and death, and there are much worse problems in the world, but let's be honest, in the moment, it feels like a big deal. Nobody likes to pit out during an important speech, interview, or first date, God forbid. I'd rather much not worry about it, and that's why I use SweatBlock antiperspirant wipes. SweatBlock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply at night, go to bed, boom, the next morning you wake up, wash, and go about your day, and you don't have to worry about it. Guaranteed. I know this sounds too good to be true, but I literally only have to use SweatBlock once or twice a week, and it keeps me dry the whole time. No more pitting out, no more picking my shirts based on which one will hide sweat better. If you or someone you love is dealing with this sweaty mess, you have to check out SweatBlock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON or at Amazon and CVS. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back and on to start another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use promo code NFL100 from football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 21 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. This is Locked on Boston College. AJ Black here. We're excited. Today we have CJ Clinkscales. He is a class of 2022 running back for the Boston College Eagles. He's a commit for the upcoming season. CJ, how's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for coming on. And we're all excited about, talking about the future of Boston College football, and you're a name that a lot of people are bringing up. So can you tell the fans a little bit about yourself, your history, a little bit about how you played in high school, and give us a little bit of a lowdown on where you're coming from?
I'm coming from Beaufort, Georgia, probably about, an hour from Atlanta or so. And, the team that I come from, like Beaufort High School, we have a good tradition of winning a lot of state championships. And we've been real successful in the past. And then my sophomore and junior season, we won 2 state titles. So right now I'm just trying to work on my third title. So
yeah, you had a big first game, if I remember correctly. You had a big game. I forget exactly who you played against. It was a big matchup though, was it not?
Oh yeah, we played against North Carolina. It was a good game.
Yeah, and you had the big touchdown. Was a 40-yard touchdown run?
Yes, sir. I think it was about 65.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rip off a little bit of your work there. So that's great. So how did you first get in touch with Boston College? Kind of talk a little bit about how you connected with them.
I would say I think it was probably back around January or February when Coach Gunnell, he had hit me up. He said he liked my film and everything, and I immediately I've always had I would say I always had a strong interest in Boston College. So when he had hit me up, I was really excited about that.
Okay, and I know you were on the tail end. I think you committed before the dead period ended, so that you had to go and visit on your own. You went with one of your teammates and visited BC, but you really couldn't meet with the staff at that point, correct?
Right. So really, we just walked around, the campus and everything, which was real nice, and just the city of Boston. So it was real cool.
Awesome. And have you talked to Jeff Hafley a lot? Do you talk to him a bit?
Yes, sir, I do. Coach Hafley, he's a real good coach, and I love what he's doing with the program so far. So
yeah, I mean, he stresses. So just kind of like, as someone who covers the team and hears what he says, he makes it sound like the football team is all about family. It's all about this brotherhood. Did you get that sense when you met Hafley, when you went to the cookout, correct?
No, sorry, I did not.
Oh, did not. But you visited since the unofficial, correct?
Yeah, I went on my official.
Okay. And did you get the sense of like, what did you get a sense of the team being like? Do you like a brotherhood, like a family? What would you describe it like?
Oh yeah, Coach Hafley, I would say like he really like wants to make Boston College like, feel like a family. And so, when I was up there, I really feel like a family, with the coaches. I could tell that they really cared about me and all the other recruits there.
Oh, great. And have you been catching up on any of the games? Did you watch any of the first 3?
Yep, I watched all of them. And then this weekend for the Missouri game, I'm gonna be up in BC.
Ooh, so you get to go see some SEC and ACC action. And so, so talk watching how they're using the running backs. How do you see yourself playing for BC? Like, are you more of a power back, more of a speed back? Kind of let the audience know a little bit about like your skill set. What kind of running back would you consider yourself to be?
I would consider myself, more of a speed back, but also, I can be a power back as well. Mm-hmm. And like one thing about me, like I'm real versatile. So, I can play in the slot, I can play outside, catch the ball and everything. So
do you have any like NFL players that you look up to? Like if you were to be a running back, you would want to be like so-and-so?
I wouldn't say NFL, but like one of the reasons why we're 5, and one person I always looked up to was Reggie Bush when he was at USC.
Oh man, you're if Boston College fans hear you setting yourself up to be the next Reggie Bush, whew. you're setting up expectations high, CJ. Thank you for coming. So you have the rest of your season ahead of you. What's your team's record right now?
Right now we are 3-1.
3-1. Okay. And so you got that going on. And then are you gonna, and if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to answer. Are you enrolling in January, or are you gonna enroll over the summer?
I'm enrolling over the summer.
Awesome. Okay, congratulations. So any other things that BC fans would like to know about you? Is there anything like you have like a special skill or anything that, like, not even football related, that you want to tell BC fans about?
No, I wouldn't really say like, I have anything to say, but I'm really excited for the season, and I can't wait to get up there and just show everybody what I can do.
Yeah, I think I've been putting it up on my site. There's 3 running backs coming up with you, Alex Broom, and Cam Barfield coming up, and the 3 of you, I think BC fans are going to be really excited to see the future of the running back position at Boston College. CJ Clinkscales, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you on social media?
On Twitter, you can find me on CJ_Clinkscales, and on Instagram, you can find me at CJ_Clink5.
All right, CJ, thank you so much for coming on, and enjoy your visit this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.